What up, wise guys? It's your wise girl Alicia, and today we're talking about fatherhood. You did it! You made it to our final wise guys lesson. Yay! Congratulations! After this video, we have one more, but this is our final lesson. So with that, let's get into it. Our final wise guys lesson is about fatherhood, and it seems pretty fitting to talk about parenting and the idea of fatherhood right after we do our goal setting lesson. Because some people have a goal to parent, and others have a goal to not. Both are completely valid goals and completely up to the individual. But both decisions require a lot of thought and planning. And basically, when it comes down to it, there's really three options for parenthood. People can become a parent now when they're a young person. They can become a parent in the future or after they've accomplished certain goals. Or they never become a parent. All of these are valid options that deserve consideration. However, there are some common things to think about when deciding on these kinds of goals. For instance, does someone know their own personal values when it comes to sex? Are there any gender stereotypes or social expectations at play that are influencing if they want to have sex or if they want to abstain from sex? Are they attracted to people with whom pregnancy is possible? Do all partners have an understanding about consent and have had conversations about boundaries? Do all partners have an understanding of the risks and consequences of sex? Like STIs, and do they know how to get treated? Do they know how to have conversations around sex and values that make everyone feel safe, respected, and honored? So now let's go through some specific considerations for each of those three options. So if the first option was to become a parent at a young age or as a young person, it can be important to start by thinking about the other short and long-term goals that could be affected. For example, is the young person able to manage school or a job and a child at the same time? Would parenthood right now change any future educational or career goals? Now, in this case, education doesn't have to mean, finishing high school or going to college or a university. Education can also mean going to a trade school or becoming an apprentice. Something else to consider is a young parent's social life. How would that change with parenthood? And is social life a value that they have? When people talk about young people becoming parents, a lot of people's first thoughts is to think about the finances when it comes to raising a child, like hospital bills for mama and baby, diapers, daycare, and other expenses. Not only does someone need to take the finances and costs into consideration, but raising a child also requires some personal resources such as time and energy. Because parenthood is a 24/7 responsibility. And does that young person have the time and support systems to help meet that responsibility? And although there's a heavy stigma around young people becoming parents, it doesn't mean that they can't be successful. It's true, young parents tend to have different obstacles than older parents, but with a strong support system, like friends and family around, that can really make all the difference. Because as the saying goes, it really does take a village to raise a child. Because parenthood takes a lot of dedication and work. So if someone does choose the first option and decides to parent at a young age, they absolutely can be successful if they have the dedication and a strong support system to help. The next option for parenthood is to do it at an older age or in the future. Someone might have set goals that they want to accomplish beforehand, like graduating high school or college, getting married, owning a home, or getting a promotion. When it comes to parenting at an older age, there are still a lot of things to consider, such as do all partners involved have the same milestones that they want to accomplish before parenthood? Again, are they financially ready to have and raise a child? Are they prepared to change their social life and free time? If they're working, does their work have family leave? If they're in school, does that mean they need to take a break from studies? I think the most important thing to remember is that there really is never a perfect time to parent. It's up to the individual. Some say that it's better to wait until you're in your 20s or 30s because you already have your life established. But there are still obstacles no matter what age. For instance, when someone is a young parent, they never know adulthood without a child. So they never really know what they're missing out on. But older parents might have to change the entire life that they've set up for themselves. Parenthood never comes without obstacles. They just might look different depending on if and when someone decides to become a parent. Which leads me to the last goal someone can have around parenthood, and that is not to parent. Many people have considered all of those previous questions and decided that they simply would not like to parent. Some people have also considered things like their genetics and whether or not they'd like to pass down the genes that they have to another. Or maybe they live a very unstable lifestyle and think that a child wouldn't thrive in that environment. Whatever the reason, deciding not to parent is also a valid goal. And something to remember through each of these three options is to always have clear communication with partners, to learn which option they're interested in and whether or not they want to parent as a young person, in the future, or never. Everyone has a right to choose which option is right for them. And so with that, I'm going to end our final lesson here. All right, you did it! You've reached the end of our last lesson! Woo! And so, for our last question of the day, if you were making parenthood goals, what would be the biggest factor in your decision making? It could be anything from finances to having a strong support system. Leave the answers down below.